Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FOJC Radio Sunday Night Live. We are live, and very thankful to be able to broadcast during these really perilous times. And we're planning, it's really going to be a unique evening. As you know, last night on the Midnight Ride, John and I were not able to broadcast, and we will be going live at 11 o'clock. So after our broadcast tonight, be ready to go over full steam to Now You See TV at 11 Central, and we're going to be continuing with the broadcast that we were unable to do. It was just a matter of um, couldn't make it work mechanically. And for whatever reason, we can only speculate. But we're very thankful to be able to speak into your life at a time like this and to bring the Word of God into the discussion, which is universally left out whenever these things are analyzed. And the best way to understand these things, what the devil wants you to do is to choose a side and start hating. And he doesn't care which side you choose, just so you hate. And to understand these events, we have to put them within the broader context of the overall plan of God and the overall plan of Satan. And back in the 1950s, there was a fellow by the name of William Guy Carr, and I have three of his books in our library here. He was a very insightful gentleman. I enjoy reading after him very much. And he talked about the world revolutionary movement, the world revolutionary movement. And he spoke how that this was behind the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and it fits in with the motto of secret societies and of the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry: order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. When they can create chaos, they are in a position to bring about the agenda that they want to bring forth. And this agenda is nothing less than the control of the masses upon this earth by an elite that is made up of international bankers, Luciferians, Satanists. They believe that the few and the very few should rule the masses. And this is their agenda. And always they'll use the Hegelian dialectic. And whenever you see these things, just like we could use the example of gay marriage, and believe it or not, back just as far as Barack Obama, he didn't believe in gay marriage, and then it was just terribly liberal to believe in gay marriage, and now the compass has moved so far, you even have the ultra conservatives saying it's okay for gay marriage, and now the argument has gone to the transgender issue. But through all of the smoke and all of the mirrors, that Hegelian dialectic keeps moving the line closer and closer to their goalpost. So we have to understand that. We can only understand these things in terms of the broader context and of the bigger schemes that these people are trying to accomplish. And certainly we see in the scheme of the secret societies, and the mother of them all was the Council on Foreign Relations. And these have the CFR birthed the Trilaterals, the Bilderbergers. All of these groups were birthed from the CFR. And there was a basic conspiracy there that was, it's not too pretty for white people, but what it basically said is they want the white English speaking people to rule the world. This was the original intent of the CFR. And it's hard for me not to believe this is still the agenda. And here we are. We have people trying to decide which side they're on. And ultimately, one of the big parameters and one of the goalposts we need to keep in mind is the three world war scenario that was outlined in letters from Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini, where he said that the Third World War would be fought between the Arab nations and the Zionists. And we certainly see this lining up We see so much happening, and I'm just thankful Brian has a lot of slides for us tonight, a lot of things for us to think about. And also, if something happens during the broadcast tonight, we're going to put that on so we can be up to speed on what is going on. This is the time we really need to watch and pray. And in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 7, Jesus said, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrow." And what the devil would have us to believe is that Matthew 24 is all fulfilled. Don't worry about Matthew 24 of the book of Revelation. But that word jumps off the pages at us this evening. And that word for nation is ethnos, where we derive our word ethnicity. And it's literally that word means a race or a tribe. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the race card being used to engender hate. Don't buy into the hate. Keep in mind that these people want to force you into one camp or another and turn you into a hater. Don't be a hater. This is one of the birth pangs of the kingdom. And always remember, in your life, in your ministry, and in the world, whenever confusion comes in, it is coming from the devil. When you want to see the devil and get a good look at him, just see in your life or your ministry what is bringing in confusion. And then you'll see the evil one very, very clearly. Well, it's very reminiscent of the words of Rahm Emanuel, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." How much that their agenda is moved toward the goal line by these things that create chaos. And certainly we're in these times. But I just want to welcome you all to the Underground Church tonight. I'm just really, I guess, after being thwarted last night, I'm really thankful to be here with y'all. And I'm thankful to be here with my friend and co-worker, Mr. Brian Reese. And Brian, it is really my joy to be able to welcome you to the broadcast this evening. Thank you so much, my friend.
And thank you, David. And thank you all for attending with us tonight. And like David said, we're in uncertain times. Uncertain times. And I would just say this: war is coming, if you like it or not. Either it's been here for a long time, which I would have to say it has, and it's based off what David just when he introduced the program, talking about transgenderism and all these different things. And I would just say this: these systems are put in place to fracture the society, fracture man. These things have been going on for civilizations of time have came and gone because the men start acting different and they lose certain things where they're not even strong enough to fight and combat. And I think it's where we're at, David. I think we're weak in some cases, but I think we're coming back pretty strong. I'm not giving up on the country, but we are in some uncertain times, and I'm not throwing off on those particular people. I'm just saying, in the past, when these things happen, if you look at the Bible, it talks about the sons of God made with the daughters of men. You think about that whole narrative, and you think about when we looked into our Cities Lost in Time series, when the pharaohs of old was wondering what was going on, the famines, the men turning away from their wives, all these different things. And here comes these ships, here comes these crafts, here comes all this nonsense, right? And then guess what? Certain destruction happens, and these people are wiped off the face of the earth. It's very interesting. And David, before we get into tonight's show, I want to ask you how you're doing. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing very good. I feel very good tonight. Had a really slept good last night, and I'll need it for this broadcast and the next one, but I feel very good, very blessed, and I'm just very thankful to be able to be here doing what we're doing. And your remark certainly brings into mind um, the buzzwords that these people will use. And I think the number one buzzword right now that could totally express their agenda is that word trans. We have transsexual, we have transhumanism, we have transformation, where literally people are saying we need to totally transform society geopolitically and religiously. And of course, the Bible tells us that this is right where we're headed. And there's the transmutation. Donna and I wrote a book called Luciferian Transmutation. That is the ultimate change that will take place in the final mass of the false prophet. So, certainly, this is one of the number one buzzwords, and it's just something that the children of light do not need to be in darkness on these issues. All righty.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before we get into the program, Dave, I want to throw up my idea here. I seen something about this not too long ago. I think it was on Coast to Coast. There was information about that. They was talking about they'd stumbled upon some alien knowledge and they couldn't cipher it. They couldn't translate it. And then supposedly the powers that be that you was discussing earlier, they perverted it, made it into something very nasty. I think the way it was read, some of the markings was like, I guess, basically vanished, and it was trans something, and they just went ahead and thought it was transgender, and they started making literally a whole system about it. But apparently it's tied to like the Anunnaki and this whole fallen angel narrative, and it's like to evolve humanity into transhuman. And no joke, David. I heard that not too long ago, and I thought that was so strange. And yeah, it's just we're at the I don't know where we're at. We're in perilous times. I don't know how far down the rabbit hole as far as revelation we are, but we're going to talk about it tonight. And I like a good news show. This is going to be a different FOJC Underground Church. I've done a lot of visual disturbance programs where news is not for everybody. This is going to be kind of that news is not for everybody feel to it. Prophecy in the news here, wars and rumors of the wars. But David, are you ready to ride out the
Let's
Sunday Night
ride, my
Live?
friends. Let's ride a little Sunday Night Live ride. Take us away, Brother Brian.
Well, everybody, we know that things are going down the wrong path. We know that Americans are gripping like either anticipation, anxiety is sky high. And like I said earlier, this is all to do with to destroy. Fear drives pain, right? Fear drives these certain tactics on a scale to defragment your mind to not know where you're coming or going. You don't know if you're left, right, up, or down. And the hardships on this, like I don't know what the economic impact is going to be on this, but we'll probably see it here very soon. It's not going to be 10 years, 5 years. It's probably going to be so soon that we are going to be caught off guard, so to speak. So we have this immigration, enforcement. The tensions are sky high. We have President Trump involvement with Galvin Newsome. We're going to be talking about that. We have the nuclear war stuff popping off as we speak. And then we have all these other things going on with the No Kings protest all over the nation. We're in for it, right? It's just crazy. All this stuff cannot coincidentally happen at all the same time, in my opinion. This has been either coordinated in some shape or form or what have you. That's my 2 cents on this. But let's just get into it. So there's a timeline that I want to think about here. And I really want to focus on, there's a lot of reports there. We've done many programs last year, Brother David, or the year before. We was talking about the Deagle report. And when you think about the Deagle report, a lot of people don't know about the Deagle report. And the Deagle report is been around for a little bit. It is, let's just say, population decline. And here we are in America. And I've always said, here we are, 2025, coming around the bend. And I remember a couple years ago, I thought it was going to be a whole nother narrative. I thought, man, how's this going to go? How's the tide going to turn? And now I'm sitting here thinking, they even took it upon themselves, David, to round it up to a magical number of 100 million. Rounded up to 100 million. It was like 69, 65 million in America. So my question to you, David, before we really get in depth of this program tonight, how could they remove 270 million, something like that, 280 million Americans from non-existent? That if there's any weight to that Deagle report, Wouldn't that be frightening, David, to be down to 100 million in the U.S.? Could you imagine? Just America could not function. We can barely function now. 100 million, the roads stop, the semi stop, everything stops at 100 million population. What's your take on that before we get into the juicy stuff?
Well, to have a population drop that significant, you're going to have something on the magnitude of a nuclear event and multiple nuclear events and some kind of a biological disaster where masses of people are killed. And this brings to mind what we've seen recently of the two Chinese nationals, and now I believe a third has been arrested concerning the bringing in of this fungus to supposedly poison the American grain crops, that this would be something, it's a fungus that would be devastating to the wheat and the grain harvest. So this is the type of the thing that we would need for that kind of a radical population drop. And it is just not it's just not a coincidence that we see people now being arrested for this very thing coming from China. And this is just it's just there, and I always think, well, if they caught that three, how many didn't they catch? And the research, I guess, that was going on there was through this gentleman's girlfriend there at the University of Michigan that had access to a very sophisticated lab. So the things there on the Deagle report, these are things that they want. They want population reduction. Bill Gates and a lot of people have made statements. The lie of overpopulation is being pumped since the 70s. But this is just something we need to be aware about. And because the reality is there's a very certain reality that something like this could happen.
Yeah, and David, I would say this: when I think about what you just said, it reminds me of Stranger Things. I know we talk about many movies and TVs in our deprogram series or mysterious theater, conspiracy theater. It just reminds me of that. A fungus to take out literally all the plant life. I mean, folks, a
Yeah.
lot of Americans can't even grow gardens. Could you imagine if you threw that in the mix and make the land desolate? I mean, it'd be catastrophic, just catastrophic event.
Yeah.
It would be unbelievable. Unbelievable, David. So let's get into the timeline of this whole thing. So June the 6th, ICE raids, all that stuff in Los Angeles sparks rioting. I mean, it was insane. This image here, the cop cars are getting inundated with cinder blocks. There's just miraculously pallets of cinder blocks and projectile whatever, what have you, to throw at the police officers, which is not good. And then if you want to throw that in the other mix of it, there's some people funding tactical gear, gas mask, you name it, they're supplying it. And our police officers, National Guard and Marines are in the front lines dealing with this nonsense. Okay. And it's embarrassing and it's sad to put these men and women that put their life on the line to just protect the streets and serve and just keep everything in order. And then here's chaos coming around and people are using what they've been given. It's unbelievable. And at that time, in the timeline of June the 6th, the reports back then, even that was just, 9 days ago, was $3 million in damage into that point. And it's skyrocketed between now and then. So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But just that alone is anarchy. It's diabolical. It's just, it's not even normal. A lot of people are talking about this ICE raid, and Los Angeles was literally pre-planned. Yes, some of it looked very orchestrated, yes, but some of these people are getting tired, tired of being put on in these conditions, and let's just say not good for their livelihood. Well, Trump on June the 7th decided to federalize the 2,000 California National Guard troops without Newsom's consent, citing a rebellion, Imagine that. Reciting a rebellion under the 10 U.S.C. 1246 document, supposedly. And that has caused a rift into the, let's just say, the reality of politics right now. And there's a lot of propaganda that goes along with this, and it's very uncertain, okay? And one thing I will say, that the military and the Marines, I know many of them, they have served. Some of these guys have served in different countries. Heck, I've got some friends that served in Afghanistan. I salute you and thank you for your service. I mean, our freedoms, what y'all have done is unbelievable, what y'all have been through. Big shout out to you guys. You deserve it. When you go on and think about what has been deployed, David, like the 700 Marines that have been deployed into this, in this feud between Newsome and Trump. Well, when you calculate everything going on and then see all Trump wants to do is saying, look, I'm going to keep everything in order, everything in set. But then you have all this Newsome sues and is calling for legal action. Okay, it's calling it illegal that Trump deployed the National Guard and the Marines. Well, here's my take, David. I think that Trump has preconceived knowledge. I think something is either heating up, because for you to be able to deploy this certain amount of platoon and this amount of money, it takes a lot of funding. It takes a lot of money to pull this off. It's not something just going to be, hey, I'm just going to have some fun here and let them sit around. These guys have a purpose. And I think he must have had some severe backup data that must have been so detrimental to deploy them. And when I think about what he had a federal judge. Newsome had a federal judge that decided to get involved, and Newsome had a restraining order, but an appeals court allowed troops to stay, and just that alone is mind-boggling. And we're going to get into it a little bit later about there was other, governors across the country that was praising these things. And real quick, before I move on, folks, they even said it. I watched the clips, I watched the interviews, I watched the news clips, the anchors talking about this on the news channels. They said it was a peaceful protest. If this is peaceful, I don't know what is. Okay, so if they determine these things, these acts of violence, throwing center block, disrupting the public services, blocking the interstates off, just complete anarchy and mayhem and causing all this money destruction, everything. If you decide that this is peaceful protest, that is insane to me. If you're blowing up and buildings are going down to the ground and everybody's saying, these higher officials are saying this is peaceful protesting, that's like beyond propaganda. I don't even know what it is. This mind-numbing, what David alluded to earlier, there's something about that drives me insane. Let me say.
And Brian, what this is programming. It's programming and brainwashing. And someone counted on MSNBC today in their coverage of the riots, they used the term peaceful protest 211 times. And this is also being repeated like a mantra on CNN and other news outlets. And its programming is geared to create cognitive dissonance, where an individual can look at something, but he doesn't see what he sees what they want you to see, and to evaluate it the way they want you to evaluate it. And during the riots there that broke out not long ago over the unfortunate death of the individual, we saw the famous picture there where the CNN reporter was talking about the peaceful protest, and right behind him, a building was in flames. But this is nothing but programming. And there's programming on the left and there's programming on the right. And tonight on the Midnight Ride, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the programming that is on the right. But this is just brainwashing. It's to so delude people to where they can look at something, see it with their eyes, but they don't believe what they're saying. They're going to believe what they want you to believe about it.
Well, David, I will put a warning out here for everybody in the chat and everybody watching this broadcast. Let's just face it. The VO3 AI mechanism to making video rendering, I mean, it's like a filmmaker's dream, okay? And to be able to produce a full directive film if you take your time, I think you can only do 8-second increments with this VO3. But David, could some of the stuff be on there that's on these broadcasts? Could it on these news outlets or what you see on X or what you see anywhere on the social media? It could be literally manipulated. I mean, we're talking beyond Photoshop. We're talking about beyond any kind of thing that we knew of. AI is taken over in so many different ways. It could be so deceitful to literally literally culturally herd people into this herd mentality and hive mind and change their perspective, like cognitive dissonance on steroids, like 2.0, 3.0 realm, and where you can't even process what you're seeing. Like you say, hey, everything's great, the sky is blue, there's nothing in the sky, and then down the street there's actually some impending doom, but they looked on the TV and said there's nothing going on, everything is fine, no need to lock down, everything is great, but then you go down and everything's on fire. They could do the reverse fact of it, right? So the reverse aspect. So what's your take on that, David? Because the AI is getting way out of control. I can only imagine a year from now, we're going to be in like Tron times or sci-fi world. David, I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, this reminds me of the old Orson Welles event. And years ago, I can't remember the year this was done, but this was many years ago. And Orson Welles, they did the radio broadcast where they said that, aliens have landed. They have landed. And literally, this created hysteria all across the nation. And the capability of doing that are so much more escalated. The AI and deep fake technology, their ability to cause panics, riots, to be able to crash the stock market through these deep fake events and false flag events. I tell you what, there has never been a time where these individuals that want to mold society and finance to a position to where they can control it, they have never had as many tools in their tool chest as they do right now.
Yeah, I agree, David. I agree. Well, this next thing I'm going to show here, it's kind of interesting. Not only do we have, this whole rift between Newsome and Trump, have y'all heard about the Oklahoma passes a law protecting drivers who intentionally kill, injure rioters while fleeing? And on the right side of the slide there, the Florida folks, big shout out to Floridians out there in the United States. This sheriff says something very interesting. And I was going to show that during this program here and I want to hear y'all's thoughts on it in the chat, comment below. It's pretty surreal. And let's just go ahead and jump into it, David. What do you say? Let's go ahead and jump into it and see what this officer has to say, because it's let's say he's not really, he's just putting it very, let's just say, blunt. Okay, so check this out, everybody. I'm going to share the screen here with Brother David here and be right back.
So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order. So
there you have it, folks. We are living in insane times. I will never in my life have thought in a billion years that this would be a thing that we have to worry about. Okay? I remember very well, and when I used to drive a truck in my old occupation before I got injured and all that stuff, I remember very clearly that people would jump out in front of me while I'm driving a huge milk truck. No joke. I mean, when the Pokemon days, when they had the applications and people was trying to catch them all, you know what I mean? Like go in the middle of the street, that happened to me. Literally insane. Okay. So that was in 2016, I think, if my memory serves me correct. So could you imagine a massive riot of folks and people driving? If a semi sees a mass, he's not going to see folks jumping out. He's not going to have time to stop, okay? A 53-footer full of like tons and 28 pallets worth of product, he's not going to have time to stop, okay? He's not going to have time. A person that has a horse trailer or a significant and massive weight of whatever they're hauling, they're not going to have time to stop, okay? If you're going to go out there and protest out in the middle of the street, the highway, the interstate, more than likely, if you're in Florida, you're going to die. That's what the sheriff said. Graveyard dead. Graveyard dead. And how sad that you'd put your life in danger to, let's just talk about the center blocks, right? Somebody that funded this event, right? They gave you the materials, they gave you the tools, but they're sitting on a high mountain somewhere. They're watching like the Truman Show, observing. They're watching how you act, your characteristics, your attributes. They're watching you like a hawk, is what we'd say here in Kentucky. And if you're willing to put your life in jeopardy just for somebody else's action to prove a political chess piece game, insane that you'd put your life in danger, especially if you go to Florida and Oklahoma. And they ain't playing. DeSanchez, he was like, look, you're going to die. You people are going to die. The government was talking about it. You know, this is insane. And I couldn't imagine just observing this through a different lens if I could rewind back in the day, and let's just say hypothetically this is all going on back in the day, 'cause 10 years ago, I could not imagine, David. I could not imagine. And you got to think, could you imagine like there's a family, right? And there's young kids, and then all of a sudden these people that are deranged come and try to yank you out of your car, try to steal your car, take your kids out of the back seat, take your cat, your dog, all your belongings just to do nothing. I mean, it's like pure insane. And like you're talking about cognitive dissonance, David, I'm gonna throw something out here. Could it be that there's like, you know, the voice to skull technology to get people riled up to prove an objective and a mission? And ultimately what it does is you're literally the piece, and that piece can be expendable. People can like literally be killed. And these people that are high on the high castle, they're not going to blink or even know that you exist. And how sad and we have come so far, but we're not where we need to be in society. This is so sad. I'm so sorry that these folks, if there's anything's happened to these folks, if there's something that happened to people. But I will say this, David, the protesting was very like lackluster there. I heard that there was not enough people that literally contribute to the cause, because you think, I mean, after that, and the sheriff's like, hey, you're going to be graveyard dead. You ain't going to make it through the night or through the day, because somebody literally has the right to protect their belongings and everything. If they got cattle or whatever it is, they're going to go drive on through, and people's just going to be flopping down the interstate. David, what's your take on this? Because this is more than bizarre. I can't believe we made it to this point in reality. I really can't.
Well, one thing I really do pray for and feel bad for the police officers. They're really in the middle of this. And I personally would not fault any police officer for doing whatever they had to do to protect themselves, because a lot of these people, they're just paid agent provocateurs that are just there to destroy. That's all they're there for. And the biblical word for tribulation is thalipsis. And this means pressure from an outside source. And literally, if we could think of our entire American population, we are in a pressure cooker. And we live in a demonized society, and we don't want to underestimate the ability of their voice to skull technology and many other things they can do to just agitate people and get them ramped up. And what we're seeing is our entire society is in a pressure cooker. And when you get people that don't have a relationship with the Lord, that are uh, just pushed to and fro by all of this pressure and hatred, there's going to be people snap. There's going to be people snap on the left, and there's going to be people snap on the right. We saw a very unfortunate example of this in this fellow that murdered these two Democratic lawmakers up in Minnesota, just went in and took them out. And sad to say, but you don't have to be the sharpest knife in the drawer, that we're going to see more of these things. And that's the intent, to just ramp it up and ramp it up. And that's the most important thing that the Israel of God can realize, is not to buy into the hate. And the things that are happening now between Mr. Newsome and Mr. Trump, these are things of a level that the Civil War was made out of. These are deep, deep, deep differences that are escalating more and more. And we're seeing here our entire system of government is based on the balance of powers of the three branches of government. And this is being severely threatened, severely threatened. And it's just all the ingredients are there. And this is one of the big issues back during the Civil War, was states' rights. And here we see the same thing red hot. And I tell you what, we really need to be in prayer, and we really need to be, number one, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, you need to immediately uh, repent and pray and accept Christ's death upon the cross as payment for your sin debt. And there's a cause out there that's worthy of your service, and that's the cause of the real kingdom of Jesus Christ. But it's really amazing, and it's disheartening to see the violence and the hatred that's just escalating. But there's nothing that we see that would give us any indication that we need to be prepared for much more of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, David. You bring up the murderers from that Minnesota event. That individual, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, because I've been staying up to date with all the other things going on in the East, but I don't think that gentleman that has been apprehended, I don't think they've gotten him
I
yet.
don't believe he has.
Yeah,
They haven't caught him. They haven't caught the devil in the Ozarks. They haven't caught a couple of the escapees from the New Orleans jail. They're not doing real good tracking these people down here lately.
Well, you know, it reminds me, the mask. Have you seen the footage on that? The mask. He's like dressed up in some kind of mask. It looks like some Michael Myers. And,
yeah, it does. Yeah.
And it reminds me of the movie's Purge. You see, I can't help it. These paradigms of what we're dealing with here, chaos, erupting, riots, what have you, war, whatever. And then the government saying, hey, you can drive over people, whatever. There's, what I'm saying? It reminds me of the movie Purge. It really does. It genuinely does. So.
And nothing, it doesn't hurt with the level of fear to let people know there's a few homicidal murderers out there near you. It just all ramps up the whole fear scenario that's being implemented on literally our whole society.
I agree. Next on the thing, as far as June the 13th, that was just 2 days ago. Not only do we have anarchy in the streets and all this stuff, we have solar winds, supposedly, all this nonsense with the constellations. We have literally people in the streets 24/7. I don't know how they make it with all, I guess they have food deployed from some food truck, but I digress. Let's move. But when we get into the Israel strikes, right? People are losing their lives. June the 13th, Israel strikes Iran's nuclear sites, okay? Killing 406 people, and then Iran retaliates, killing 4 in Israel. This is on June the 13th. Have you all seen the footage on that? It's unbelievable. The folks in Israel are being inundated with like everything. I mean, folks, either way you look at it, people are losing their lives. It's sad. It makes my heart hurt. Okay, I don't like violence. I don't like anybody's. I don't like anything to do. David, I can't even hardly stand seeing anything suffer. Anything. I cannot stand it, man. I don't go for it. I'm not a big fan of looking at stuff on TV, movies, what have you, whether it's brutal or murder. I can't stand it, man. I think murder and thou shalt not kill should reigneth in 2025. That's just my opinion, but I know that things are not the way it seems. I get it. There's a lot of evil people out there. I get it. But when I think about these rockets raining down, I've seen footage of poor families that literally their innocent children and everything. They're going to bunkers, and it really just makes me so sad. Like these people are dealing with this. But I'll just make this clear on here on this FOJC Underground Church broadcast, David. Doesn't Israel have an Iron Dome? What happened to the Iron Dome, David? Does Iran have secret magical Space Force hypersonic missiles that come in and just can divert and detour the dome back? And just, I mean, how come the Iron Dome is failing, David? I mean, please let the audience know, because I really have questions here. The Iron Dome has survived so many other different attacks. How come the Iranians are getting these missiles over there, and then all of a sudden you have destruction? What's going on here, David? It's beyond me. It really is. It's beyond me.
Well, that Iron Dome is a pretty amazing piece of technology, and it does a real good job, but it's not foolproof, and it doesn't catch everything, and it doesn't stop everything. And always you can see in the news how they present things, and the damage done in Israel is being downplayed because by the people that want this escalation to go forward. Now, one of the things too that I think about right now is the way that false narratives, and I'm going to talk about that tonight on the Midnight Ride, and the way false flag events have been used to bring nations into war. And if there was ever an opportunity for a false flag event, right now, if there is any kind of an event that could be portrayed as an attack upon American servicemen or upon an American installation, we would join with Israel to flatten Iran. And there's just tremendous incentive. If ever there was a moment where a false flag event could be planned, I think this is one. So that's something I'm looking for. I'm looking for the great opportunity of that false flag. So we got to be very careful when we see things.
Amen to that. Well, it's interesting. Just a couple hours ago, speaking of Iran has made a pretty big boastful statement, David. Iran warns Israel will not be habitable soon. So I wonder if there's going to be some type of horrible exchange here in the next little bit. Let's pray. Let's just pray this war ends. You know what I'm saying? No more bloodshed. You know, it's just crazy. But it's interesting. I just want to throw in that it wasn't part of my presentation, but I remember seeing that, and just a couple hours ago, Iran makes that warning that Israel will not be habitable soon. Is it propaganda? We shall find out. We shall find out. Next thing on the list here, when we have the President Trump, as of yesterday, was hosting I think it was his birthday also, David. and he was hosting a military parade in D.C. A lot of flack from Americans. They was really upset about this. They really was. I seen a lot of chatter online. A lot of people was giving this guy literally the boot. They was like, how come you can do this when there's people starving, what have you? You know, there was estimations between $25 million or $50 million to, you know, it's just all hearsay, right? I haven't found a literally direct receipt. Okay. So we have a 250th anniversary, and then you have all this chaos, right? And it was a huge parade, okay? Ceremony, the whole thing. I mean, it was the Marines, the Army, the National, everybody was there, right? And they had these different types of antique, nostalgic military equipment, Hummers, new equipment, advancements. I mean, my goodness, we are one of the most advanced militaries on the earth. I mean, they had a lot of cool stuff that they presented during this parade. I will say that. And it was interesting, though, the 250th year, we got 2025. I thought it was interesting, 220, even 225, 250. I don't know. And then you have Donald Trump's birthday. It's kind of strange. Kind of strange in my opinion. And we're going to talk about that here a little bit more in more detail with this parade, because there's something significant that I found. So stay tuned to the end, because I'm gonna show you something that was pretty phenomenal that I caught at the very end of this ceremony. So next on the list, we got the No Kings. Once again, we got to discuss this because I thought the whole thing, the protests are spreading and all this, and this was all going on. And then you also have this going on with the military parade. I thought it was kind of ironic, the date, the way, you know, it's uncanny, these dates. Just how does this happen? You know, I get it. I get people organized. I get people coordinated. I guess, you know, I get it. Okay. But it's just kind of, is it spiritually driven? You know, here we are on the FOJC Underground Church. I know me and Brother David would say, yes, it's spiritually driven. It sure is. It sure is.
You bet.
And the next thing on the list here, we have the Prime Minister. We have, I always butcher his name, so don't hate me too bad, Netanyahu. Okay, Netanyahu, I think that's how you pronounce it, claims Iran tried to assassinate Trump over his nuclear stance. I'm not kidding. That has been, there's been a lot of domestic unrest in our world, global conflict and everything. But Netanyahu says that he claims that Iran tried to assassinate Trump over his nuclear stance. And I can play that video, David, if you'd like for me to play it real quick. I'll play the video because it was on Fox News, and show the folks here tonight what was really going on, because this stuff, you know, like I always say all the time, you just can't make this up. And let's play this little clip here for the folks, because I want to bring the receipts, you know. 1 second. Let me share this with Brother David here.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat, and I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one.
Yeah.
Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner. They understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them.
When did you tell President Trump you were going to launch these strikes?
Look, I've been in constant contact with President Trump. We've known each other for many years. And obviously, we informed our American friends and President Trump, our great friend, ahead of time. We did. He knew about it, of course.
I mean, there were reports that President Trump kind of helped you achieve your strategic surprise by publicly urging you not to attack when he already knew you had decided to do it. So you were closely coordinating with the U.S. throughout this process.
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump will make the decisions that are best for America. And That's the way it is. He understands that I, as the prime minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
Well, there you have it. A very interesting clip there of Netanyahu. But David, what do you think about this? What he just spoke about here in the so-called assassination attempts of Mr. Trump and the tie-in with Iran? Because if there's any truth to that, David, we could be down some dark paths coming down. I mean, within the end of the month. I mean, some very perilous times.
Yeah, and I have no reason to doubt the truth there of what Mr. Netanyahu was saying. Wouldn't doubt that a bit. And I remember, and I know a lot of you do too, back to 9/11, and Brian and I have done broadcasts on 9/11, and all of our longtime listeners, you know our opinion about that. And I think back to the year 2003, to the days of shock and awe with George W. Bush and Colin Powell and crew. And if you remember, the document that was used to bring America in to that, to have war with Iraq, was the document that supposedly come from the country of Niger that stated that Saddam Hussein was wanting to acquire large amounts of yellow cake for the use in making nuclear weapons. Well, it come to find out that that was a fraudulent forged document. And we went to war over a fraudulent document. And this just shows the propensity of what people will do to achieve their objectives. Now, I think most people, I guess there's some people might, but after the war, there were 550 pounds of yellow cake found in Iraq, and this was declared to the Atomic Energy Commission before the war started. You know, it wasn't something they declared to the Atomic Energy Commission. They had this. It wasn't something that was coming later from Niger. But that was a false narrative. And at the very same time, the narrative that was coming out, and this is 2003, you know, that's a few years ago, my friends. And the same narrative that was coming out of the Israeli Mossad and the CIA is that Iran was very close to getting a nuclear weapon. Now, that was over 20 years ago. So, excuse me if I believe that that is a false narrative also. The way that I look at it, if they were weeks away from a nuclear weapon in 2003, it probably would have materialized by now, but it hasn't. This leads me to believe that what's going on in these nuclear facilities, certainly there is nuclear research going on there, but there's this one facility that Iran has that's underneath a mountain, and there's nothing that Israel has that they could deliver that would touch this. They're going to need a little help from the United States with a heavy bomber to drop a bunker buster or a Moab bomb. And those are the only two conventional weapons that could touch it. So what I believe, Brian, is that this false narrative is cloaking what really could be going on in some of these underground facilities. I think there definitely is nuclear research, but all of the equipment that they see there, it could be used for nuclear enrichment, but there's other things it could be used for too. And I think there's a deeper agenda that is going on there. And if we would think about it, there are a number of things that could be even more detrimental than nuclear weapons to the human race.
That's yeah, I agree, David. I think we're, when we talk about many times Ephesians 6 verse 12, wrestle not against flesh and blood. I think there's something here, David, to really just kind of take a few moments here to speak about nuclear material. We did that program. You're talking about the saucers, right, and all the different drones. It's in the New Jersey event, and they was sniffing out everybody on the online. All the officials, yes, we're sniffing out the nuclear material. There's been, uranium being deployed in a storage container. I mean, it was crazy, right? The narratives was it stunk. Okay, and then you have these tests or whatever it was, these people seeing things, hallucinating. I don't know. It was crazy, right? These orbs, everything. It was just insane how they was dematerializing, changing, altering. Then all of a sudden you get the UFO phenomenon. Well, my 2 cents on this, Brother David, is we don't understand nuclear. We don't understand that signature, but nuclear material has a signature. I mean, they have abilities to sniff out nukes, okay, or nuclear something. You're talking about nuclear facilities or what have you. You're right, David. I mean, there's something under the ground that goes bump in the night, and it could be something to do with on the angel side or something to do with, here's my take. I think the fallen angels, you could get into, aliens and what different types of species. I think they all resonate some type of signal, like on a nuclear level. And I think that might be it might be one of the biggest plays on humanity right now. We have all these different talks and the UFO phenomenon, and people talking about, well, we got this whistleblower talking about immaculate, it starts with the constellation. Hey, there you go. I'm word playing it. And they're talking about all these things that being inundated on our society and surveillance and like takeover. And then like, here comes the aliens and here comes the drones. I mean, it's just all the time, man. And I just think the nuclear material stuff is like way down the rabbit hole, like you said, David. There's something about it that just doesn't. I know there's nuclear so-called nukes. I don't know what kind of form or what have you they have or what payload they can do. They can put them on little missiles, hypersonic, what have you, throw them through your, popcorn stand on the local diner. I don't know. Okay. They always make something so dramatic. And I will say this about an hour ago, David, at when the Iran, one of the uranium enrichment facilities in Iran, there was a 2.5 magnitude earthquake in Iran. 2.5, and I think earlier today was a 4.3. They keep watching and observing it. And here's, David, like you said about those underground facilities, David, if there's something going on around under the ground, but there's no like explosion, no atomic bomb, no nothing, and they're claiming that these are erupting, there's seismic activity, David, if there's nothing getting blown up, why is there earthquakes in these uranium areas? Let's just think, folks. Let's not be closed-minded here. David, could there be literally something going on with scientists and everything that is like shown? There's something so beyond the human perception or we can't even comprehend in our reality. Could they be doing something? And my 2 cents on this, I think that they are. I think every time the atomic bomb, different things, 1947, there's all these different things that's happened. Okay, Project Fishbowl. You have, I think there was communications, right? Like you have something that blows up, all of a sudden here comes the so-called crafts, the Vimanas, the IFAs, the all these different things, and they claim that here comes the saucer men, right? We had an explosion, here comes the saucers. So David, could they be opening up a portal? Let's just cut to the chase. Could it be something to that level? And I mean, heck, David, just recently, just like a couple hours back, Antarctica is resonating a signal. There's some type of radio frequency signal. This is just breaking news is today, talking about Antarctica. Could there be something going on here that they're trying to wake up? I mean, literally, we could be dealing with magic warlocks for all I know, because we know what happened in Saddam Hussein. We know what happened in the Iraqi wars, the claims with Saddam Hussein's museum getting ransacked, had all those different, they had the big coffins, all the resurrection tablets. I mean, all those different things. I mean, David, we could be looking at something to that level, an archaeology level, or looking at something that's supposedly going to advance mankind, and they're trying to unlock it with these alien or fallen angel demonic activity. What do you think, David?
Well, when I think about this facility in Iran that's underneath a mountain, I mean, they better get a big boomer if they want to take that one out. But it reminds me, could this be the Iranian version of what we have in Dulce, New Mexico, and in a lot of our deep underground facilities where, we've talked a lot about whistleblowers like Phil Schneider that have talked about how they believe that there's an actual, they've encountered the fallen ones down these tunnels and actually have exchanged fire with them in actual combat. We think about Mr. William Cooper and what he said about our nation all the way back to the days of Dwight Eisenhower have been aware of and working in league with these entities. So, I just have to open up the definite possibility that there could be something else going on. All we hear, nuclear weapons, nuclear weapons. Well, maybe there's a little more to it, and I really have to believe that there is.
Yeah, 100%, David, 100%. So let's just change gears a little bit and let's get back into the topic of the rioting, right? These riots are going on, and we have already talked a little bit about, voice to skull technology, what would cause people just to get, insanely excited about these types of events. And I will say a little money. There was a lot of leaking going on with Twitter. There was some documents out there where, no joke, David, $6,500 to like $12,500. Is it debunked? Is it fake? Is it real? What have you? But that was out there, and they was looking for people with experience. So if you got more experience, you get that 10,000, that 12,000 K. You go out there and you put a little show on, do a backflip. Walk up a telephone pole and do a little dance, okay, with electricity and act like Raiden from Mortal Kombat, okay? So crazy crackers, I don't know, okay? We live in an insane world, but that is a true fact. That was leaked all over the place, and I said, man, this is controlled, this is paid for, but who? By who? That's the question, by who? So these riots are going on in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, you have it. It's getting crazy, okay? Inflation is up, I think, at 8.2%, if I got the statistics correct. Unemployment is up 6.5%. And then you have all these different things going on there's more National Guard being deployed. We have the Marines, all these different things that's going on. And so you have Governor Newsome. He has sued, arguing the deployments violates this act he called Trump deranged. Okay, so he called Trump deranged and was discussing the matter of that Trump threatened to arrest Newsome, and that was seen on TV. He was literally publicly saying, hey, come and get me. And it escalated tensions, and then meanwhile you have the sheriffs getting involved, you have all these chilling warnings and people attempting to forcibly remove from their cars like we mentioned earlier, and all these different things. Recklessness, it's an outrage. There's like people it's just insanity, right? So this No Kings protest and everything went on. I mean, it was all over the place, okay? Even in my neck of the woods, probably your way. I know that they had them over in the Owensboro, Kentucky area too, Brother David. So I want to bring this up. So not only is these things going on, okay, you can see on the picture there on the screen, that's a lot of places over there and all over America, you know what I mean? Even if it was a smaller scale, 100 people, 50 people, what have you, that's a lot of people participating. A little crazy, a little wild. I'm not saying these people are crazy. I'm just saying in general, that's a huge, let's just say, participation rate. Not in Florida, though, according to what their statistics was, and probably not that many in Oklahoma after the information was dropped on that. But the participation level was unbelievable to me. So I want to talk about this for a minute because this really hits home. So you have a bunch of Democratic governors and then some Republican governors, okay, we're not going to mention any names, who praised their stance on this, okay, and literally going down these putting reels online and everything. Let me tell you something, okay? I'm going to be very kind about what I say here and how I articulate what I'm speaking. When somebody says to you that is on a higher stature, like that's on a big social status and like has some type of so-called power, and all he says to himself, we're in this together, everything he says, I'm in a baseball event, we're in this together, there comes an F4 tornado, we're in this together, here comes the last 5 years, we're in this together. Like David said earlier, it's called brainwashing, okay? And David nailed it on the head a while ago. When you repeat these incantations 24/7, 24/7. We're in this together. There's people that I know around my area that will claim they know Trump. They claim they know the governor. They claim they know the senators because they drink coffee with them every morning. That makes me sad, okay? They literally think that they know them. They can literally go to their house and sing Kumbaya, right? I don't understand that. But I guess you can, when you hear it gurgitate over and over, we're in this together. We're in this together. Could you imagine if I said that on every broadcast, David? I've only said it on here about 15 times. Could you about, hello everybody, we're in this together. And I said that, and I did like a program about it every hour. It would be, our poor audience would be so defragmented, they wouldn't be able to even go to the bathroom without turning their GPS on their cell phone. The thing is, it's so hard. I'm literally genuinely coming to you as a follower of Christ that these things are so manipulated. Okay, they're manipulation of your mind. You can't listen to folks that continue to do these things. It's insane. And then they propagate, and then they entice these things. Mr. Newsome is big friends with some people that are over in my neck of the woods, like directly connected. So you're saying that peaceful protest is good, but it's not good. It's catastrophic event every day. So you're saying you're enticing people to go out and do evil. I don't understand that. I wasn't raised to go out and destroy things. I wasn't raised to do that. And I know that I'm speaking to a lot of Americans here and a lot of people from my neck of the woods. We don't go out, we don't go out and start making mischief. We're kind. We try to be as kind as possible. We all fight it. We all do wrong. Nobody's perfect, but if you get on these trains and that train's going to derail one day. You can't continue this rhetoric and somebody just constantly telling you something over and over again, making you believe it. And then they get on there all charismatic and read off a teleprompter. I will say that they seriously, I've watched this man for years. He reads off a teleprompter, and my goodness, how sad. I'm not going to say any names, but it's getting to the point of ridiculousness. It's just so sad. And I pray for the individuals. I pray for this man that I'm speaking about. But when somebody goes and says, we're in this together, you better run for the hills. You better get you a to-go bag and survival kit and run. Because anything he says is, let's just say it's just not good for your human consumption. Okay. So there's that. And David, before I move on, do you have anything to comment on about what I just spoke about? I went a little long there, but if you want to chime in on what I'm speaking of, please do, my friend.
Well, what we're seeing here is absolute insanity from any kind of a sane perspective. And one of the main groups that's funding and coordinating the California riots literally received $34 million from the state of California. The state of California is paying the groups that are organizing this systematic destruction. And the same group received like $500,000 from the federal government. Now, what we're seeing in this No Kings protest, now there's a lot of people involved in it, and a lot, like your map showed, a lot of different cities. Some of it, the turnout wasn't too good, but and of course the left-wing press, they want to promote this to being bigger than it is. But still, in any kind of evaluation, we have a lot of cities and we have a lot of people taking part in that. And what this No Kings group doing, it's building a network and it's building a structure. They now have established connections in hundreds of American cities. They can put leaders in place. And this is a way that they can, in the next go-round, they can much better organize and facilitate this whole operation. So it's going to get more serious, and they're going to get better at it as time goes on. And all you have to do, all these people have to do, is get a crowd of people there. And you're not going to get a majority of the people to do crazy things. You're just not. But what they're going to do, they'll be able to get the large crowd, and then they'll have their agent provocateurs get in there and push it over the line and push it to the point of violence. So this is what we see right now. We see these people building a structure. They're not going to go away. They're not going to fold their tents and go home, but they're going to be very persistent pursuing this agenda, and they're just puppets from the puppet masters that are financing this thing. But it's just going to go on and on. And right now, what we're seeing is a network being built that they're going to be able to utilize to even greater effect here in the near future, whenever they want to.
Yeah, I agree, David. And it's a play card they've been playing for a long time on the masses. They've been doing this to my family. Let's just think about it. Been doing it to your family, probably, David, for all the propaganda that they shot out through all the years of our great whatever grandparents, right? And it's time to wake up from this nonsense. It's time to wake up. It really is. It's time to wake up. So moving on here. Operation Rising Lion, right? Could you imagine? It's always dramatic when they do it too. When they speak about Operation, it's almost like a movie. Operation Rising Lion is going to be deployed. Forgive me for mocking. I'm not trying to mock, but that's just the way I feel about it. It's almost, when I hear stuff like that, it resonates in my mind, and this is where my mind goes, Brother David. I've been so, let's just say, pop culture has been embedded into my neural pathway, where I think about Lionel from Thundercats. Oh, Thundercats! Oh, here the rising lion is coming upon us. so according to the rising lion, so we have, and I'm sorry to laugh, but it makes me chuckle a little bit. So with all this going on with this Iranian narrative with the nuclear facilities, what have you, and everybody, all this bloodshed. Okay, so this operation, it's interesting that this operation struck over 100 sites, okay, including Iran's main uranium enrichment facility, which I mentioned earlier, with significant damage. It was literally the heavy water reactor at Arak, missing production sites and command centers and all kinds of different things going on with this particular place. And forgive me for butchering the names here, but Bagarhar, I think it's Bagarhar, was one of the individuals that died. And then, you can't make this stuff up, one of the commanders, I think his name is Salami, no joke. And I'm not trying to make fun of the individual, but these individuals supposedly got taken out, nuclear scientists and what have you. So it's really interesting what happened. And, God rest these people's souls. I hope they I hope they repented. I really do, David. I'm kind of joking around here, not making fun that they passed, but over the rise and lying concept. I just think it's a weird name. But I really do truly pray that these individuals made it into heaven and really had enough time to repent. I really do. I really genuinely do. So when you think about this and you think about what happened in this rising lion, okay, and these conflicts and everything that's going to happen, Trump to this. So there's just been this big thing going online, David, and Trump denies U.S. involvement in the Israel strikes, but had prior knowledge, okay, suggesting there was coordination. He vetoed an Israel plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, pushing for diplomacy. However, the nuclear talks set, I think it was today, were canceled, raising fears of escalation. And then you have this, the parade and everything and all the stuff that was done yesterday. But I want to say this for the folks out here. I'm getting alerts on my phone. What's really strange is, as we speak, in the last couple hours, it was a pretty good size, what do we have? A nuclear-powered U.S. aircraft carrier is en route in the Middle East. So it could be, by the time we get off this broadcast, or by the time we get off into the sleepy world that we go into, there could be something going on. I mean, something could really be on the cusp of total annihilation of some shape or form. I'm praying, but man, it could get real hot over the next few hours and next coming days for sure. And David, what do you have? You have anything to say before we move on here, my friend?
Well, that reminds me of a dream I had over 20 years ago that I can't get out of my head. And I hope it's just a dream, but it had that kind of feeling to it that it was just a little bit different. But in this dream, and it was a dream because I was high up in the air and it was over the ocean. And I looked down and there was huge black smoke coming up from something on the water. And it was so thick that I couldn't even tell what it was in my dream. And then all of a sudden, I came down to the surface of the water, and then I could see that it was one of our huge aircraft carriers that had been hit, was on fire, and there was so much smoke coming up, you had to get down to ground level to even tell what it was. And that has never left me. And I have to think about that whenever we talk about our aircraft carriers being deployed. And aircraft carriers are not as invincible as they used to be. There's a lot of weaponry being developed that, and a lot of this by the Chinese, that could really take down one of these big boats. So we just, we just really need to be in prayer about just so many things, don't we? We just really need to watch and pray and to do like the Bible says. The Bible tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and we don't need to fail to do that.
Amen to that, David. Amen. Well, moving on here, this was interesting. We have this nuclear capabilities going on, and I just want to ask the viewers out there, and ask you, David, when you look at this, and the question is I have for everybody, what or why does this matter to Americans? We've had pretty good, listen, we've had it good over here, and God has blessed this land abundantly. Okay, we've been through some crazy times where gasoline is astronomically sky high, and I think from some of the folks in California, I think it still is sky high. I think it's around the $8 mark or $7 a gallon. My goodness, if you guys came from California and moved over here to the good old state of Kentucky, you would live like kings. Okay, you could take and migrate your business to Kentucky. You would live like you're on the Taj Mahal. Okay, so because we're over here at a couple of dollars a gallon. And when you go to the Kroger and you're thinking, hey, I'm going to get a discount because my wife, she's paying all this money for groceries and she gets that rewards program, you get a little discount. You get a little discounted gallons. I mean, I couldn't believe it, David, not too long ago, not to get too far off subject. Just recently, not too long ago in Tennessee, you could stack the points up, and I got 74 cents. My wife was driving up to a gas pump, and so let's see what we got. And it was 74 cents. That was the cheapest I could get. It was in Tennessee. So big shout out to the Tennesseans out there, because at least y'all can stack your points up at the Kroger gasoline pumps. So there you have it. So with that being said, what happens to America with all this, right? You think about a wilder war. Is this still going to be a global scale? You think about oil prices going to $150 a barrel and then pushing our gas, $5 a gallon or even worse, and worsening this inflation that we've been going through. There's a lot of Americans hurting. There really is. There's a lot of people are not doing too good. There's a lot of poor now for what's been done the last 5 years. Some very sick things. Okay. Well, I wouldn't say let's just say the last from 2020 to 2024. Okay, let's say that. And a lot of people are suffering. And then you think about retaliation and this nuclear arm from Iran and threatening America. I mean, there's so much stuff going on here that's literally up in the air. Okay, they could play this card anytime they want to. I mean, this stuff could get really shady real quick. So I want to switch gears a little bit and think about, here's a picture of the so-called nuclear weaponry that they have in Iran. But I want to switch gears. I want to go to something a lot of people don't know about. There's a lot of people on X. I've heard a lot of different stories about it. A lot of people are really, just coming out in the droves, man, and they're really thinking about this particular company. And before I get into it, I've heard speculation. I've watched clips. I've I've researched through a bunch of different information on this particular company I'm getting ready to talk about. But these two individuals on the screen here are the CEOs of Palantir. So if Palantir, if y'all have never heard of it before, Palantir is, let's just say, a technological, let's just say something getting ready to get real ripe, okay, before 2030, okay? So we have we have Peter and Alex here, okay? This is a Denver-based data analytics firm. It's literally, no joke, I couldn't believe the names on these particular, let's just say, programs here. It's an American software company that specializes in data analytics and integration. Okay, so these platforms, also known for working with government agencies. And what's so really strange is the logo on this particular setup here. It's very strange, but they also, what was baffling to me, Palantir Gotham, Palantir Foundry, and Palantir Apollo, David, which are designed to help organizations integrate, analyze, and manage data. So when you think about what Palantir is, it has a strong presence in both the government and commercial sectors. And the Gotham platform is used by intelligence agencies and defense organizations, while Foundry is used by corporations like Morgan Stanley, etc. And then you also have AI and machine learning. Okay, so it recognizes a leader in AI and machine learning platforms with software powering real-time decision-making in critical situations. So it focuses on data-driven operations. So Palantir's core focus is to helping organizations build data-driven operations, enabling them to make uniform decisions based off insights derived from their data. Okay, so Palantir recently delivered its first two AI-enabled, it's called Titan systems, to use in the U.S. Army, demonstrating its continuous focus on defense solutions. So this Palantir facility also has connections with the Pentagon also. So when you think about this and the systems that's been put in place, and earlier, David, you made a comment about 2003, and it's kind of ironic. Here we are. We're going to be mentioning this. It was founded. This is a fairly new company. It was in 2003, David, when this company was founded. So there's been a lot of speculation. There's been people that's pretty much just basically decided to say that this particular organization, there's a lot of speculation. Okay, they really couldn't find much evidence, but they're claiming that they had ties to something to that level to where there's some type of nefarious plot but I can't really find much information on it, so I don't want to desecrate somebody's company. But it is very interesting that Palantir is going to have a huge tie-in with our society. I mean, let's just face it, folks. We have Project Stargate on the rise, and so this Palantir information is going to be, let's just say, it's going to be a surveillance. I mean, it really is going to be a surveillance setup. I mean, that's what they're claiming, okay? And there's a lot of people that are really not doing too good with it. But the thing is, it's like I'm hearing speculation with the ties-ins to Mr. E. I'm talking about Epstein. I've heard all kinds of ties. I cannot validate that one shape or form, but there's a lot of weird, sick things. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not putting down these individuals, but what if there's something to it? What if there's going to be something that happens? Let's say hypothetical that there's a desensitization to the society, seeing the folks, like, hey, there's military on the streets, there's all this pandemonium, whatever. There's rioting about every day. Let's go ahead and here's the America's alert system for the Great Purge, like that film. Are they going to do something so ignorant that there's going to be systems like that in the place? I'm not talking about Palantir, but I'm talking about in the future. Is there something like that going to happen? So if you want to chime in, David, please do, because I have a few more things here to talk about this Palantir. But what's your take on this, Brother David?
Well, when you take all of the ingredients that we've been talking about this evening, and then you inject AI into it, I tell you what, our listeners here on FOJC, You know what our opinion is on AI, the tremendous dangers that are there. And there's a lot of statements we could bring forth from very powerful individuals that are a counter narrative to what we were hearing in the 50s and 60s. Back then, everyone was assured that whoever had the largest nuclear arsenal could rule the world. Today, there have been statements made that whoever controls the AI technology will control the world. And as all of you know, there's a tremendous AI race between ourselves and China and other nations for mastery of the AI. And when you insert this into the military and into the Pentagon, this is unnerving. It isn't the type of thing I like to hear. It doesn't make me all warm and fuzzy, but it just opens up another whole realm of possibilities, none of which is going to turn out good for the human race.
I agree 1,000%, Brother David. 1,000%. I said percents. So the U.S. Army we talked about this earlier about the parade with Donald Trump and everything and the 250th Army. So I didn't watch this, okay? I watched a few, well, I'll take that back. I watched fragments, okay? It was 5.5 hours. I mean, it was a long, long parade. I wanted to just throw this in here. Toward the end of the 5 hours and 30 minutes, you can go check this out. Go back and watch it. I don't have a time marker because I was watching on another broadcast, but it's there. Toward the end of the ceremony, toward the end of it, David, an audience out there, in the back, look at this. So it was on the screen for a millisecond. It was probably just a few seconds. So you have Palantir in the background. I mean, you can literally see it says Palantir. Okay. So I thought it was interesting. Yes. Okay. They might have sponsored it. So be it. But it was only there for a brief moment after they did all their music, everything orchestrated, all that. And it was only there for a few seconds. And I literally took that screenshot, and that was why it was live. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I really couldn't believe it. And I said, well, there you go. I mean, it was there for maybe 2 or 3 seconds. I don't even know if anybody found it. I haven't looked online if people was, sharing it out. But David, I mean, there you go. Palantir at the end of the ceremony of the 250th military parade of Donald Trump. And I'm not saying there's anything nefarious going on. I just thought it was interesting that it's come up there for just a few moments. And it was so quick. I couldn't even, when I took my cell phone to try to screenshot it, it was that quick. I had to be on my A game to go back to the duration time and click it to be able to get a proper grab of the screenshot. So David, I mean, how far are we all? Here's the question. How far are we? I mean, really, truly, what were we at? We mentioned the Ephesians 6 verse 12. We're talking about we're not fighting against flesh and blood. I mean, these principalities, these things are inundating our society. And before we conclude tonight, I want to say that these things are subliminally put into your brain. Like you just get inundated all the time. Like we were saying earlier, when somebody keeps saying the same rhetoric over and over and over again, casting out things, it's like insane. We're in this together, right? Or whatever. So it becomes like normalized, right? And it just becomes a thing where we just have to accept it. And then we just have to go along to get along, right? We don't worry about it. There's fireballs coming from heaven. Don't worry about it. Whatever. That kind of thing. And like I said earlier, desensitized to really what's going on. And I would say, just to conclude here, between the rioting and all the timing frame on this, people saying the human residence is going up, the solar winds are going up, the mass we have the sun exploding, the corona mass injections. I mean, it's whatever that is. This is all tied into something, and somebody knows, okay? Some government official, somebody probably watching this program and laughing their tail off because like they're probably like thinking, is this guy like from the King of the Hill TV series? I can barely understand what he's saying. Did he say Palantir or Palomar, is going down, right? And I just think this stuff is so strange to me, David, and these mechanisms to have a dystopian future, completely surveillanced, never have any way to like just be free and have freedom. Like, I don't know how it's going to play out. We shall see. I don't know. Maybe I'm just down the speculative reality. Maybe I don't understand the full like the concept of what this is, this Palantir mechanism organization. But we'll just have to see. Maybe it's going to be great for humanity. But I'm just trying to be, very lighthearted how I say that. But yeah. What's your take on that, David, before we move on and conclude the program? Because I got one more thing to mention here. But what do you think about this Palantir situation?
Well, it opens up the possibility for what we call unintended circumstances. And we're dealing with things here that we're not really sure what's going to happen with a lot of this AI and a lot of this crazy technology. And a lot of these people, they talk about things that are really good that can come forth from this technology, and they are really genuinely good. But there's other possibilities that are not good. And always, when these things go forward, there are unintended circumstances that are not foreseen by the people that implement them. And when you're playing such a high stakes game on levels like this, I guarantee you there'll be things happen that will surprise them and surprise us all. And that's where the Israel of God needs to be on this day of the No Kings protest. We need to tell everybody there is a king. His name is Jesus, and he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He is the one thing that we can depend on in this uncertain world. And now is the time to turn to Jesus, the real one, before it is too late. Repent, believe the gospel, and believe in Christ's death upon the cross as payment for your sin debt. Confess him as your Lord and trust him with everything that you do. And I am very thankful to be able to talk about these things this evening with our listeners. It's a very, very important time. And Brian, wrap it up for us.
Well, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight and staying with us here with Wars and Rumors of Wars, the prophecy in the news. What an honor and blessing it is right here to always be on this platform. And thank you all for listening to me this evening. Your time means a lot to me, and me and Brother David, we appreciate it so much. On the screen here, don't forget NACTV. We had a little internet issue. We got, the powers that be just didn't want that Saturday Night Live, that NACTV program to deploy. But tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, a lot of people are asking, is it going to be a rerun or a premiere? No, it's going to be live with John Pounders and David Carrico. The death toll rising. The Bible warns us. So check it out. An hour and a half from now, that will be deployed. Brother John Pounders will be back behind the seat, and David Carrico will be back live. So check it out, and I put the link in the description so y'all can snag that up real quick.
I was hoping we could do that.
Yeah, I'll plug it in one more time for you folks. And then one other thing, I want to mention this because I haven't said it for a while. I feel like I haven't been live for a while. It feels like that, but I think we go all the time. Check out spiracycon.com. Spiracycon.com is in the description below. We'd be glad to have you. We are adding new speakers day by day. I mean, it's getting crazy. We're going to have a huge selection of speakers. A lot of people comes with different types of occupations and different sorts when it comes to different conspiracies, Bigfoot, you name it. And we'd be glad to see you. We'd be glad to hear from you and see you in person. So if you want to see us, Brother David, myself, and John Pounders and other people, we are all going to be gathered in Cave City, Kentucky at spiracycon.com. Please check that out. The link's in the description below. I can also put it in the chat box here in a second. But I just want to take a time to thank you all so much for attending with us tonight and being here on FOJC Underground Church. Just my last few words here. I would say things are not what they seem, okay? But don't get in dismay and don't be thinking, oh yeah, my joy has been robbed here. Yes, we talked about a lot of dreary things here on this broadcast tonight, but the point is to get the message out. And yes, David's talking about Lord Jesus Christ. That's where it all is. That's where it all ends up. And a lot of people scoff upon that if you're new here and never heard the gospel. This is the great channel to hear the gospel. And we talk about the gospel a lot here. and we raise up the name Jesus Christ as the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And people out there that was in these protests and everything, I would pray that you turn to Christ Jesus before it's too late, and stop letting these things manipulate your mind, literally, with these master warlocks that are leading you to literally the path of hell, the damnation to hell. I mean, it's just straight up. I mean, we're listening to people that are in this esoteric understandings that teaches alchemy and witchcraft and the evil Enochian language of the angels. And that's why the Bible is talking about the sons of God made with the daughters of men. We're in those days, okay? Giants of old, the return of the giants, the Nephilim, the Raphaim. We're in those days. We're after the flood. I mean, here we are preaching it, speaking Christ is King. And we need to get off this bandwagon of frequency and everything. I know it's very hard. I used to be all up in it too. And heck, there's some things I might not have right either. I'm not saying I'm on a high pedestal here and I have all knowledge. But don't listen to these evil witches and warlocks that are projecting this evil and propagating lust of the flesh and sinful nature, because it's going to lead you down to a path of hell. Don't jump in front of a truck and say you had a purpose and say, well, they killed me. I'm sorry. I was playing around with these protesting. It's not good. It is literally setting us up for some type of civil war or World War or whatever. And I'm just praying that people listen to this message tonight. Don't participate in these things. Stay home. Do things that are productive. And don't let nobody manipulate your mind that you're not worthy of breathing this air that God has made, and do something productive in a better way to make change. You want to be the change you want to see in this reality, and we want to serve the King of Kings and not let our time here on earth be a waste. We don't want to be a chessboard piece of folks that are just playing like the Truman Show, okay? We don't want to be in the Truman Show. We want to have enjoy our free will that God has given us, but do it in the way of what the Lord wanted us to do in servitude to Him. So thank you all so much for attending with us tonight. I appreciate it so much. Check all the links in the description. We really appreciate it. Hit the like button, share this thing out. And David, real quick, David, we want to do the, what is it called? The Carrico Crush? David, it might be that time for the Carrico Crush.
Let's on the count of three, help us out. Hit the like button, and also share this broadcast out, because the powers that be don't do us any favors. We'll just say that in getting the message out. So on the count of three, hit that like button. 1, 2, 3, boom. Hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to FOJC Radio, Underground Church, or Visual Disturbance, please do so and help us to get out the message that the Lord has given us. So with that, and many thanks to Brian and all of you that were a part of this broadcast. And one final reminder, join us live at 11 p.m. Central tonight, live, Now You See TV, with the Midnight Ride Sunday edition. So with much thanks to all of you and our Lord Jesus Christ, we're going to say what we always say. A big high five and good night, everybody, from FOJC Radio Sunday Night Live. God bless y'all.